This is an E-Band Films exclusive baby. Shout out to Young Thug, Young Slime Life, the whole Bleveland Avenue, my main man Steele, my boy Adams, plus the OG Posted, I see you. But let's get to this spicy salamander named Woody. Listen to how he got treated in this audio transcript right here. Docket number 1, you already know ski, Atlanta, Georgia, December 10th, 2015, United States of America versus Kenneth King Rodent Copeland, the defendant. Transcript of evidentiary hearing before the Honorable Russell G. Vineyard, United States Magistrate Judge. Appearances of counsel. For the government, Catherine Terry Kim Dammers, Assistant U.S. Attorneys for the defendant, William H. Thomas Jar. This is the case of the United States of America versus Kenneth Copeland. We're here for an evidentiary hearing. As Terry Dammers are here on behalf of the United States, and Mr. Thomas is here on behalf of Defendant Copeland. Counsel, are you ready to proceed with the evidentiary hearing? Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'm ready with a caveat. I just have a matter I'd like to take up with the court. I'd like to do it outside the presence of the witnesses the government intends to call, if that's okay? Do you have any witnesses in the courtroom? Mr. Terry? All right. Ask them to step out for a moment. Your Honor, I'm ready to proceed again with the caveat this morning. Yesterday, about 3 o'clock, I received some additional discovery from the government. That discovery is somewhat different than what I had previously received, and that I had prepared and filed some motions with respect to, I think, what our theory of suppression is. The government provided me some new information yesterday about, I guess, their theory of why the evidence shouldn't be suppressed. That was the first time I received any notice of that. I received the email about 3 o'clock yesterday. It's about 60 pages of discovery. And essentially what it boils down to is one of the witnesses who's here today is Officer Mercure. I believe they will be relying on him with regards to the suppression of the firearm. The discovery that's been provided to me are additional interviews that have occurred of Officer Mercure. And in those additional interviews, he makes statements that are different than what I had received initially in discovery. So they are somewhat inconsistent with each other about what occurred that day. Similarly, there's at least one interview. There's at least 2 more interviews of Officer Mercure. First, those are internally inconsistent. They are different. An ATF agent or 2 different ATF agents took those statements. There is also discovery that I received from an Officer Hayes who was with Officer Mercure that day, and his statement is different than what Officer Mercure says. Now, I had not anticipated, based on the discovery that I had received previously calling witnesses, it was confined. There was certainly a theory of suppression that I at least at that point determined we did not need any witnesses. Where we are now, I think is I don't know what Officer Mercure is going to say today on the witness stand, but certainly I think I would remiss if I did not call witnesses who contradicted what he said or who would impeach what he said. I'm prepared to go forward, but I believe that a set of circumstances is going to arise where I need those witnesses. And I quite frankly haven't subpoenaed them because I didn't need them until I got the discovery yesterday that said something different. At least 2 of those witnesses are federal agents and would have required and will require, I believe, a TUI request. So I am prepared to, I guess, begin the hearing today, but I did not want the court to be surprised or think I wasn't prepared to come here today and do the hearing. It's based on this new discovery that I received yesterday of these interviews that took place of Officer Mercure and Officer Hayes. And actually, there's actually other new interviews that have taken place. I don't think those will give rise to any issues where I would need a witness, but it may. So that's my announcement this morning. Your Honor, the documents provided to counsel were under our obligations under Jenks. When speaking with Officer Mercure, myself and the agent present when we were preparing for this hearing, we went ahead and made notes of what they told us and turned them over in an abundance of caution to make sure we were complying with any Jenks and/or Giglio obligations we would have. They're not Rule 16 discovery, and they're under Jenks, and frankly providing them before the hearing is before our obligations to provide Jenks. The other interviews that we provided would be the janks of other persons who aren't even testifying here today, and we just went ahead and provided those. They provide information regarding the recording that Mr. Thomas previously requested, the gist of which we had previously indicated to him regarding the recording, and we wanted to go ahead and give those to him as well. And so I don't believe there's anything in there that would give rise to delay of the hearing. They're not Rule 16. They're janks, and we provided them ahead of our obligations. With regard to any contradiction, Thomas believes is there. He's free to cross-examine Officer Mercure about those things, but I don't see where we have failed to provide timely discovery under Rule 16 or Jenks or Giglio, and I don't believe there's any reason to delay the hearing here today. We're going to commence the hearing, but at the conclusion of the hearing, Mr. Twilling. Thomas, if you feel like Case 1, 5th NR 00256 RGV, Document 51, File 010516, page 5 of 118, you need to raise the issue again. I'll be glad to hear from you at that point. You do have the material, and you obviously have identified some things that you want to cross-examine the witnesses about, and you may do that, and you may be satisfied at the end of the day with your cross-examination, but if you need to revisit the issue, you can bring it at the end of the hearing. Thank you. And I want to be clear, I'm not really complaining about the timing. IT is what it is. But again, I think I would be remiss to have received this and having received other discovery that is not consistent to not raise that particular issue. All right. Thank you, Your Honor. All right. MS Terry, are you ready to proceed? Yes, Your Honor. To begin with, just to clarify a few things regarding the scope of the hearing. My understanding in discussing this with Mr. Thomas and reading his motions is that we're addressing the search and seizure of a bag from April 28th, 2015, and we're addressing some statements that the defendant made on that same day. Mr. Thomas and I have stipulated to the admissibility of the Dunbar video, which is going to be government's exhibit. Case 115D0026AT-RGV, Document 51, File 010516, page 6 of 118.5, and that there's a second statement on June 10th of 2015. My understanding is that we're not addressing that statement as far as a Jackson-Deno hearing, but simply Mr. Thomas will have legal argument regarding fruit of the poisonous tree. On that understanding, I was not anticipating going into the circumstances surrounding that statement or introducing the statement, and I just wanted to confirm that that's my correct understanding from Mr. Thomas about the scope of the hearing today. Emmer, that's correct, Your Honor. All right. And Miss, Terry may have said this, I don't know, but we've agreed to stipulate to the standing issue. Did you say that, or did I miss it or not saying it? Yes, with regard to the standing, because of the stipulation of the introduction of Exhibit 5 that covers the standing issue as far as the initial burden by defense. We are not stipulating that there's not abandonment issue, but we are stipulating that that video will meet the burden for purposes of today's hearing. All right. With that understanding, you may proceed. Your Honor, I'd like to call Officer Mercure. Please raise your right hand to take the oath. Mason Mercure, having been duly sworn, was examined and testified as follows. The clerk, if you will have a seat, please, and state your full name for the record and spell your last name also. Officer Mason Mercure, M-A-S-O-N-M-E-R-C-U-R, direct examination by M.S. And Officer Mercure, how are you employed? Where are you employed? Atlanta Police Department. And how long have you been employed there? It will be 10 years in May. And what division of Atlanta, APD, is that short for Atlanta Police Department? Yes, ma'am. What division are you employed in at APD? The Field Operations Division, F4. Okay, and what does that mean? That's comprised of the different zones, zones 1 through 6 of the Patrol Division. Okay, and do you wear a uniform or plain clothes? Uniform. Case 115R256, AT-RGV, Document 51, File 10516, page 8 of 118, And is that the uniform we see you wearing here today? Yes, ma'am. How long have you been employed at APD? Did you say 10 years? Yes, approximately yes, ma'am. Okay, are you post-certified? Yes, what does post stand for? It's slipping my mind. What is post when I say post-certified? It just means I'm certified as a state police officer. Okay, and do you have powers of arrest? Yes, ma'am. Were you working for APD on the day of April 28th of 2015? Yes, and were you working in the capacity you just described? Yes, ma'am. On patrol? Yes. Do you drive a car? Do you walk? How do you patrol? I drive a patrol vehicle. Do you ride with a partner? No, ma'am. And do you wear the uniform that you're wearing here today? Yes. Can you describe that just a little bit for the record, please? It's just dark blue pants, short sleeve shirt, stitched badge. My name is on the right pocket. Is there anything identifying you as a law enforcement officer on it? Just the stitched badge and the Atlanta police patch on my left and right arm. And do you carry a firearm? Yes, ma'am. How do you carry a firearm? I carry it on the right side of my gun belt, holstered. Is it visible or concealed? It's visible. On April 28th of 2015, did you receive a dispatch regarding the Dunbar Center? Yes. And is that in Fulton County? Yes, ma'am. What were you told regarding the Dunbar Center? In reference to the dispatch call. Yes. Dispatch advised that there was a black male with True Religion blue jeans with a machine gun at the Dunbar Center and was keeping it in a white H&M bag with red letters. And did you hear anything about what that male was doing at the Dunbar Center? In the initial 911 call, I don't believe so. Now, were you privy to the 911 call or dispatch? Dispatch. Okay. Can you explain just a little bit about how that works? What do we mean by dispatch? Dispatch receives information from the person receiving the 911 calls. 911 sends it over to dispatch. We're kind of getting the information third or fourth party through dispatch. And then how do you get that information from dispatch? Dispatch gives a brief description of the call over the radio, and she also sends it to our MDT, our computer inside of our vehicle, just kind of a brief description of the call with the address. You say you have a radio. Yes, ma'am. Okay, and how does that work? Is there one channel, multiple channels? There's multiple channels. I would be dispatched over the Zone 3 dispatch channel, the main channel. Okay, once you heard that dispatch regarding the Dunbar Center, what did you do? I immediately started to the location. Okay, did any other officers respond to that location? Yes. Do you recall who they were? Espo Hayes, which was 302 that day. Officer Carswell, 304. Sergeant Daniels, 2394, and there was Officer Black. I forget what his unit number was, and maybe a few others. Your Honor, may I approach the witness? Officer Mercure, I'm showing you what's been previously marked as Government's Exhibit 7. Do you recognize this? Yes. Copy of the dispatch. Some of the dispatch that you heard that day. What is it? It's a video of it's audio of dispatch. How do you know that's what it is? I've heard it before, and I've signed the CD. And is the dispatch on this CD, is it a fair and accurate yes? On April 28th, 2015. Yes, Your Honor, I move to admit Government's Exhibit 7 into evidence. Officer Mercure, I'm going to play what's labeled File A. Okay. No objection, Your Honor. It's admitted. Your Honor, if I may play some of... Yes, ma'am. Audio played in open court. So what are we hearing in Clip A? Clip A is just the first transmission of the dispatch call, and units obviously hearing that would be considered a Priority 1 call, and a lot of units jumping on that and responding to it. Why would it be considered a Priority 1 call? It's just kind of a high-level threat situation. If we could play Clip B, audio played in open court. So what are we hearing in Clip B? Clip B. You see everybody kind of reacting to the just vague and generalized call. We're taking it as a high threat, and we're just setting up a perimeter around the location. Why is it discussed that you're going to all go in together? Just because of the vague nature of the call. We know it's high priority, a weapon involved, and we just want to have enough reinforcement in all areas to be able to handle the situation. Prior to arriving at the Dunbar Center, were you already familiar with the Dunbar Center generally? Yes. What do you know about the Dunbar Center? I know that the Police Athletic League operates out of there. It's kind of a safe haven for the kids to come, kind of an outlet. Lots of kids go there to play. It's just kind of a community recreation center, and police organize events for kids there a lot. Okay, Officer Merker, I'm showing you what's been labeled as Government's Exhibit 1. Do you recognize this? Yes, and what is it? That's the front of the Dunbar Center off of Windsor Street. And is this a fair and accurate representation of the way the front of the Dunbar Center looks? Yes, ma'am. Your Honor, I move Government's Exhibit 1 into evidence. No objection, Your Honor. It's admitted, and Your Honor, here's a copy. Can you tell us where you first pulled up? I pulled up in the turnaround, which it's just outside this grass area in the picture, just to the right of it where the street is, essentially parallel to the gym doors, but on the street area approximately, I don't know, 50 feet away. We can see on Exhibit 1, there's a label that looks like gymnasium, and then there's more doors over to our right when looking at the picture. Where did you walk up to when you responded? To the gymnasium doors. So that door area on our left as we're looking at the picture? Doors? I don't recall what I did before I walked through the doors. Was anyone with you? Spo Hayes was with me. Okay. And what did you do before you walked through the... Okay. Was Hayes riding with you, or did you have to wait on him? I'm not sure. Whoever got there first waited for the other, and we entered the gymnasium doors together. Okay. What did the gym look like when you first walked in? Well, it was well lit. There was several people in the bleacher area, and there was full court. I'm not sure if it was full court or not, but there were several people on the basketball court playing basketball. If you had to estimate, how many people do you think were present in the gym area? Maybe 20. Okay. Officer Mercure, I'm showing you Government's Exhibit 2 and 3. Can you tell us what Government's Exhibit 2 is? Lil Spicy Salamander getting lined up. Leave a comment if you want to hear the rest of this 2015 Lil Woody transcript. I promise it's real cheeky, like Kayla Bump Bump. Straight up on Glanville Nim.